Crime is a big problem. In Europe, 75 million people become the victim of a serious crime every year. 1 in 3 women report being sexually or physically abused. 2 million children are trafficked every year, and millions are being defrauded, robbed, or physically assaulted. These crimes can have a deep emotional and physical impact on a large part of the population, affecting our happiness and our economy. While there's much being done to stop crimes from happening, too little is done to limit its effects when it does happen, and in many cases it's made even worse by the way our society and authorities deal with it afterwards. Victims often have no access to emotional or practical support. Women have to sit next to their abuser in court waiting rooms. Victims from minority groups face discrimination when details of the crime are published. Many have to retell their traumatizing story to different police, prosecutors, and the judge, and some authorities fail to inform victims of their assailant's release. Victims can be faced by many problems, but they have the legal right to better treatment. For victims, it's important to know what these rights are. The 2015 EU Victims' Rights Directive, which applies to EU member states, guarantees your right to recognition and respect, protection, support, access to justice, compensation, and restoration. You can go to a court to enforce those rights, and all countries in Europe have signed up to similar international commitments at the UN and the Council of Europe. This means victims have to be talked to in a respectful manner and their concerns taken seriously. They need to be protected from further harm by the perpetrator and psychological harm from legal proceedings. They must receive confidential support to help them recover, to cope with the crime, and give them practical help, whatever may be needed. Victims must have the opportunity to be heard even if they speak a foreign language, and they must receive compensation for their loss. Victim Support Europe is a non-profit organization that works with national support organizations to implement and expand these rights. We act to give victims a voice in Europe, so their needs are not ignored. Our members accompany victims in police stations and courts. They help with insurance claims, funeral arrangements, and making appointments. They provide emotional support, shelter and protection, and much more to help victims feel safe again. Crimes can be devastating to victims. Some become depressed and unable to work. There can be practical problems like mending broken doors, changing houses, learning new skills due to injuries, coping with unpaid bills, and many need legal advice. Victim support organizations around Europe are there to help with all these problems. Victims need our help and we need yours. So please visit our website to learn how you can help, learn about victims' rights, and join us to build a brighter and better future for victims of crime in Europe.